What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing tonight? My name's Joe. Welcome to Best Card Breaks. We have break number 11 of new release 2024 Bowman coming at you in the form of a 12-box hobby case. Let's get ready to rock and roll. Inferno's Max Clark. Arjun Namala. What's up, Jared? Jamar Johnson at a 150. And Greg Kessinger, base rookie ink, going to the Astros. Lunar, Walker Jenkins, Luis Baez, Cooper Bratt, Brock Friedenberg, Mr. Friedenberg. Out of 250, Homer Bush Jr. paper. Jared Jones, top 100. How You Lee, Rafaela, Mini Diamonds, Michael Arroyo. Out of 99, Ty Pete. Jack Hurley Lunar. We really honestly haven't pulled anything that crazy. We pulled a red lava of auto of the dude from the Brewers. Not the big names, like D3 or something like that. Pulled a nice true orange rookie auto of Colton Cowser. So that was pretty sweet. But yeah, honestly, I haven't pulled anything too crazy yet. No super fractors, nothing like that. Sebastian Walcott out of 125. And Walker Jenkins, numbered out of 99 on the Bowman top 100. Insert 8 going out to Twins. Kevin Sim. Jason Dominguez. Douglas Glad. And orange Chase Davis paper out of 25. Jet Williams mini diamonds. Josue De Paula Lunar. Box number 3. Nah, I'm not chasing anybody, to be honest with you. I honestly haven't really been in I really haven't been chased anybody in recent products, to be honest with you. And it doesn't have anything to do with the classes or anything like that. Just haven't really spent the time to dive in deep enough, truthfully. You know, I do the prospect report, but outside of that, you know, I don't usually take a ton of time on my own to dive in and do that kind of thing. I think the big names in the product for this year's product, I think they're as good as you can get in a way. Walker Jenkins is. I mean, he has all the tools that you'd like to see, you know. I think the COVID years, you know, there was just a lot more time on our hands. You couldn't really go out and do as much. You kind of were. You know, I had my kid. I had one kid at the initial start of it, and you know, my second child was a lot younger, so it's, you know, way easier to have some time when they're not running around doing, you know, being crazy. You know, plus now with working as late as I do here, and I don't have the time to sit and dive in like I would like to if I'm gonna chase people. Isaiah Drake got a $3.99. I mean, I do think the Naylor brother, you know, if depending on what his prices are at, because that's the other thing. I'm kind of a big, when I used to chase people, I was kind of price dependent too, right? Like if I liked a guy but his prices were higher than I wanted to go, I didn't, you know, I just didn't chase him. It didn't matter to me. You know, like there was guys like Jack Sawinski. I like Jack Sawinski, and his prices were great. David Guzman, you know, so I chased him, and he's done what he's done, and so that was a good one for me. But yeah, I haven't had the time, and so I truthfully haven't even looked to see like who I would want to chase, that kind of thing. Arjun Namala is kind of an interesting one, just because he's kind of got a secondary market there, you know, with being one of the first, was it is it Indian born or something like that, players to be drafted where he was, or to even be drafted, something like that. Kind of goes back to like the Jacob Steinmetz situation. Walker Jenkins, blue paper out of 150 when he was drafted. You know, he was the first Orthodox Jew, so his market was kind of, oh, nice, out of 150. Little mini diamond, Pete Cronshaw. So his market was a little bit skewed for a pitcher, just because he had some extra added value outside of his skill. You know, I think Cooper Pratt for the Brewers, depending on where his prices land. I mean, he's definitely a solid player. Brooks Lee, he's definitely a hold type candidate. He's young. I don't think you're not gonna see massive reports on him this year. Luis Guanipa, but in a couple of years, a year maybe, he starts, moving himself into top 100 conversations and those types of things. Who else? Kyle Teal's solid. It's just you never know, when you're looking to chase and kind of, I'll say, quote-unquote, invest. He plays one of those positions that usually the market doesn't follow. But playing for the Red Sox, he's going to be in a big market. He's a solid player. He's got all the tools you want out of a catcher and a guy who would be a mainstay back there. So, there's good potential there. Who else? As we go through and I see more names, I'll remember a few things. All right, box number 4. I know one guy that I think might be a really big sleeper, and again, I always say this, it always depends on the price point of players, because you have to think logically about it when you are diving into chase or invest or what, where it may be, right? But the reality is if you're gonna chase a guy, if you're gonna chase a guy you think might wind up being solid, and you're paying, let's just say right now you're chasing and you're paying, let's say you're paying $600 plus on, we'll say blue autos, right? You have to think, how good does that guy have to become for those values to increase? And so that's why I say a lot of chasing and who you decide to chase, for me, a lot of it had to do with value, right? So I might go, and instead of saying, okay, on release I'm chasing X, Y, and Z, I might go and start looking at prices and go, I kind of like $80 for a blue auto. I kind of like, $300 for an orange auto. So I would go and I would look at guys who are in that realm, and I'd decide, okay, who do I think from this realm could pan out to where I don't need them to be spectacular, right? I don't need a guy whose orange auto you buy for $300 doesn't have to become Mike Trout. He can become Jack Sawinski, right? Like Jack Sawinski was the perfect situation. I spent like $400 and I had an orange, 2 blues, an atomic, at a 150 Homer Bush. I had all these different variations, and I was like $400 into Jack Sawinski. So what do I need Jack to do? Just let people know who he is. So he comes out, he has a 3 home run game, and instantly I sell everything I had for like $3,000. Easy done, right? You're not buying a guy, nice Estuar Suero, and this was who I was going to refer to. So Suero, he reminds me build-wise of O'Neal Cruz. He's a switch hitter. He's tall. He's lanky. He's kind of fast twitch. I'm not saying he's going to do what O'Neal Cruz does as far as the arm strength and those types of things. But if his price range is in a decent realm, I mean, you're looking at, okay, I need him to literally just make the top 100, and I can make money. Boom. Those are the guys I look for. Me personally, right? One, because my bankroll isn't large enough to chase the Walker Jenkins of the world, right? Like, Walker Jenkins, the ceiling, way higher, right? He's one of those guys, could be the face of the league in a few years. Enrique Jimenez, one of those types of guys. I don't have that kind of cash flow, right? Like Ellie De La Cruz, great buy. He only went up and up and up, and he's still doing big things. He's still a big name. He's a guy that when people, at least in the Midwest, or sometimes people that are around Bowman think, prospects, he probably a name you think, right? For me, I'm thinking of the guys you don't even know of that in a year you're going to go, yeah, I know who that is. And you know what? $500 for an orange doesn't sound bad. But a year ago, that same orange was $150. Those are the guys that I chase. because I feel better that if my guy stinks, because the percentage point is going to be that a guy is more likely going to stink. Aiden Miller, he's another one that I think is really solid, and I don't know where his market is at, but he is definitely. Aiden Miller's got a really, really pure swing, which usually plays for a long time. Mini Diamond, Cole Young. And that's the other thing. You know, when I used to do my research, you know, Yohani Morales, when I used to do my research, like, I would watch videos of guys, I would do, you know, and watch their swings. And one guy that I said for a long time that I did not think would pan out, and people gave me so much, you know, people would scoff at me all the time. George Valera with the Guardians. And I said for the longest time, I don't think he's going to pan out. The swing doesn't play very well. There's too much movement. There's too much activity. When he gets to the big leagues, it's not going to play. I mean, you're looking at like a guy who's I think like 25 or something, still sitting in the minors. You know, and that's just one of those things where sometimes it's a lot more than just a name you got to look at, because the hype train always follows something, but doesn't mean that the hype is real or warranted. So remember that. Remember that when you're chasing players. There's a hype train always, and there's going to be people that jump on it no matter what. But just remember, the hype train is not always warranted, so you don't always want to just follow. And that's my spiel. But if I could go back in time, I could probably find the videos too if I wanted to, back when I first started breaking. But I know I'm on the record somewhere. When I was ripping 2020 Bowman, and you know, Volpe was a nobody. He was a nobody. I told people so often. I said Volpe is the next Jeter and face of the Yankees. Like, he is the story. He's the story that everyone wants. Right? Grew up a Yankee fan. Grew up going to Yankee Stadium. Family's big Yankee fans. He was a first-round pick. He's scrawny. He's small. This and that. Boom. Look at what Volpe's stuff is doing. I remember when Volpe blue autos, true blue first Bowman autos, were like $50, $40. People were mad they didn't get Dominguez, so they just dumped Volpe. And then you turn around, and a year and a half later, all of a sudden, Volpe true blue autos raw are doing $1,500 to $2,000. PSA 10s are doing $3,000 to $4,000. You know, obviously that price has cooled now because that was a little COVID generated, but. The point being is sometimes where the money is made when you're talking about investing, it's not always the hype. It's the guys that people aren't thinking about that show up. Infernos, Jordan Lawler, Walker Jenkins. And out of 75, Rock Reggio, Luis Paez. And purple, Sammy Basallo out of 250. Cooper Pratt. Chandler Pollard. Base. Rangers. Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford, Lunar, Out of 75, Rock Reggio. And Walker Jenkins. Arjun Namala. Mini Diamonds, Travis Honeyman. Brock Vradenberg. Estuar Suero. And yellow paper, Abimelec Ortiz. But to answer your question in full, I guess further than I did, if money wasn't a thing, I would be going hard as nails into Walker Jenkins. I think Walker Jenkins is going to be very, very good. I have my personal concerns on some other players, big hype players, but we won't go there because some people are chasing those guys. But Walker Jenkins would be the guy I would go deep as nails on if money wasn't a thing. Being that it is, I would probably look at markets on Suero. I would look at markets on Namala, and Namala mostly because simply being that he has an additional attribute outside of just his baseball skill. If he does make it big, you're going to get a larger market share because there are people that do take value into the fact that he's one of the first from his demographic to do what he's doing and those types of things. Those would be a couple guys I would look. I would look at Cooper Pratt. And I would look at Miles Naylor. The only issue with Miles Naylor, though, is for long term, even if he does pan out to be as good as his brothers. He plays a position that people don't really. Your long term investing and stuff like that. You want to look at your shortstops, your center fielders. You can also look at guys, like Schemes is a great one. If you can find a pitcher who is just absolutely unbelievable, strikes people out, does things that make people want to go to the ballpark, you got to find the guys that people want to talk about to their buddies, right? Like if your buddies wouldn't talk about a guy doing something in a group chat, unfortunately, you might have a guy who's not super investable long term, right? Even look at it. Look at it like Adley. Adley's the face of Baltimore, which helps. He's got great charisma, all these different things. But at the end of the day, the guy you're going to talk about because he does just insane stuff is Gunnar, right? And that's why you look at Gunnar's values, and Gunnar's values are high. But Adley is the face of Baltimore. Like that can't be like Adley is the face of the Orioles. Like that's just the reality. Gunnar wins the awards, Gunnar does all this and that, but when people think Orioles, they think Adley. Why? Because Adley was the first one drafted. Adley was the first one that started the change. Ramon Landeta. Right? Like, look at the Braves. Ozzie Albies. Incredible player. Right? But who are you going to talk about? You talk about Acuna. Why? Because the guy hits 40 home runs and steals 70 bases. You don't talk about Albies, who hits 323 with 24 nukes, plays second base, at a high level, because it's not glamorous. It just doesn't glam like the other guy, right? So that's the other thing that I tell people. And nice little Wyatt Langford, second year Wyatt Langford out of 100 for the Rangers. That's a nice one. Yeah, and that's kind of why with Langford too. I mean, his market's kind of taken a weird turn a little bit, just because. Again, it's once you get to the big leagues, right? Once the guys get to the big leagues and make their debut, if their values are going to hold, they have to be kind of flashy. You have to do more. They have to do more than just what their team needs. Dylan Cruz, Wyatt Langford, Colson Montgomery. Just like Matthew McConaughey with acting. Everybody talks about Matthew McConaughey as if he's the only actor in the world half the time, right? But no, he's just got charisma. He's got this element to him outside of acting that you talk about, right? Have you sat there and, all right, you know? I don't know. There's just a lot more elements than just the game. Mini Diamonds, Camilo Diaz. And that is why I used to spend too much time prospecting. Brock Wilken. Luis Angel Acuna. Yulín Cespedes. Miles Naylor. Yoandy Morales. But anyway, there's your answer. Out of 175, Abraham Nunez. I mean, it's just the truth. I've been around the block long enough to see, right? And the other thing is this. And always remember this. In our day and age right now, they have one shot. They have one shot. If they come up and they don't perform, get out. Get out, get out, get out. Because even if they come up again and they perform, doesn't matter. They have one shot. You see it far too many times. Just sometimes cut your losses and move on. Hopefully you sold at debut and you gave yourself a little bit of a hedge if that happens, right? Like, because it happens. Kelnick, prime example. He came back. I mean, he hit nearly 300 last year. Decent amount of home runs. Doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't matter anymore. If Kelnick doesn't struggle out of the gate and hits nearly 300 with the home runs he had last year, people are like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. Got one shot now. And that's why Ellie's stuff is still the way it is. Because even if he slumps, right? Ellie came up and has done electric things. So even if he goes into a slump, people still think. But we've seen it. We've seen what's possible. And then 2 weeks later, he does what's possible. Because he can do that. So there's my chase and investing spiel that I give people because I try to be honest and transparent. And sometimes just invest who you want, and then you don't have to think about it. It don't matter. And that's the glorious thing about cards. You can do as you want and as you please. You don't have to do it for me. Do it for us. See, the tough part with Ellie, though, is out of the gate. The toughest part with Ellie, truthfully, Jared, is even if you did go hard as nails into Ellie, you haven't made that much percentage-wise on your investment because he's always just been hot, right? Like, he was one of those that, unfortunately, like, in the product he was in, it's just like Jackson Churio. Like, because he was so good and the price you had to pay, like, you're not losing, which is great, but it's not as high of a percentage as, like, for instance, like a Volpe, right? Where you bought him at, a base auto for $15 and now all of a sudden, I mean, Volpe could be hurt for the rest of the year and you'll still make more percentage than you're making on Ellie. And those are the things. And that's the only reason why I didn't play into the Ellie game. I mean, Ellie, everything speaks for itself. The guy's incredible. Evan Carter, Infernos, right? Like, the guy's incredible. But at a certain point, there comes a time where it's like, what does he have to do for there to actually be money to be made? Nazan Zanatello at a 199. And for me, what do I think is going to happen with Holiday? I think Holiday is another Jared Kelenic situation. Just to be truthful, people can disagree. That's 110% perfectly fine. I don't think the swing plays in the big leagues. Robert Kalaz out of 299. I don't think the swing plays in the big leagues, and the reason I say that is he reminds me. It reminds me of a Kelenic situation mostly because when he goes back down, I think he's still struggling a little bit, but he's gonna rake, and then when he comes back up, it's gonna be a similar situation. And it's going to be the same thing because the separation of talent. Nice Yoandi. Very nice Yoandi Morales. Lunar. The separation of pitching talent from the big leagues to AAA to AA. I mean, it's a huge gap, right? Like if you can see my hands on the top screen, I mean, it's a huge gap. Like the guys in AAA, you're probably going to get a miss. Maybe 2 every at bat, right? You get to the big leagues, you're lucky to get 1 miss when they miss their spot. Like you're lucky if you get them to miss their spot once. If they miss their spot twice, then you're talking about the Rockies starting rotation, right? Like just realistically, if you're a Rockies fan, I'm sorry, but you have 4 of your 5 starters are like in the bottom tier of ERA, Dylan Cruz, like that, and that's the biggest thing. Luke Adams at a 199. They can actually take your weakness and they can execute pitches against it. And if you can't adjust, you can't adjust. In the tough part, out of 25, we got a rookie. Everson Pereira, a nice orange, Yankees. And the toughest thing is, like I said, you have 1 shot, right? You have 1 shot because if he comes up again. Which he will. He'll come up again at some point. Maybe this year, maybe next year. The problem is now, in the back of everybody's mind, is the dude went 1 for 30. So he's going to have to go and do and over-exceed so much on an unrealistic basis for you to lose the 1 in 30. No matter what. And that's just simply from a card standpoint. Right? Like, from a career standpoint, do I think his career is over? Absolutely not. Plenty of Hall of Famers and incredible players have had rough starts to their career. But knowing how our market works, people already have jumped to the next shiny thing. Look at his market. Look at where his values have gone. They're over to the next person. It's the same exact thing that happened with Kelenic, Miles Naylor, Yoandi Morales. Hey, nice Spencer Jones mini diamonds. And that's not to say I think he's not going to have a good career. I still think Jackson Holiday will have a good career. He has the pedigree, he has the work ethic, and he's so young. He's so young. Bryce Matthews. So if you invested in Jackson Holiday and you don't make money, and the investment doesn't win, it's a complete blame on the Orioles farm system, or on the Orioles decision makers. He had no reason to come up. He had no reason to come up yet. If you're not calling up Heston Kjerstad before Jackson Holiday, I mean, which I know Heston played last year, right? Like Kjerstad came up last year, but I'm saying in regards to where they were at statistically and the way they were playing, Right. If you're not going to call Kerstad up this year before you call up Jackson Holiday, there's clearly an ulterior. There's an ulterior motive to them calling up Holiday. It was partially a publicity thing, right? Holiday's the big name, number one prospect. What better thing to do to sell tickets? Bang! You bring up the number one prospect. And when you bring up guys too soon, that sometimes is what happens. And it's a very similar thing that happened with the Mariners, right? But the difference with the Mariners is Kelnick had performed at that level for, at AAA level. He was performing well for, I want to say he was there for like almost 6 months because there was the whole issue with the GM coming out and saying that he was, manipulating his service time and everything. So, Kelnick had performed at AAA for a number of months, whereas Holiday was there for how long? He didn't have that stellar of a spring. So I personally think in that situation, I think the Orioles just kind of did him wrong. Bring a guy up too soon. He's not ready. Let him sit in the minors. That maturity point. It's huge. Even if there's initial success, man. It's proven in almost every sport that the guys that typically wind up sitting or the guys that typically wind up, not being rushed, wind up performing. I mean, look at all of the quarterbacks. All the quarterbacks that we can name that are like big name guys in the league, they sat. They didn't start out right away, minus Burrow, right? And Burrow, there's some question marks there. I mean, a lot of it's his line. But, they sat. Mahomes sat behind somebody. Kirk Cousins, I think, sat behind somebody. Which, Kirk is Kirk. Some say whatever, whatever. Josh Allen sat. I mean, there's a number of guys that I think about, and then you talk about the guys who got jump started in, and you talk about the failures. I mean, the list is huge. Roman Anthony Infernos. It's not always about the talent that is there. Sometimes it's so much more about the mental side, and that's why I say Jackson will be fine. He'll be fine. He'll have a good career. Anthony Cuezo, but what is he, like 20? I think, barely 20 or something like that. Yohandy Morales. I mean, look at the guy. Look at the baby face on that guy. Just should have given him a few more months. Isaiah Drake out of 250. What I've always said with bringing up prospects, and this is if you're not coming up out of camp, meaning that they didn't perform that well in camp, or especially now because there's not really much service time manipulation because of some of the changes they made, right? If you don't pull them up out of camp, obviously that means there were some question marks. So if there's question marks, then what was fixed in like 3 weeks for those question marks? Like he hadn't gone through a slump yet. He hadn't gone through, some dog days. Derniche Valdez. I did. I said Churio. Kerstad. And because that was the same thing I was saying about Churio. I wanted to see Churio in the big leagues, but if you don't think he's ready out of camp, then you got to give it almost to All-Star break, unless there's an injury need, right? Like, unless there's an absolute injury necessity, you have no one else, that's your guy. Ooh, nice strand. Reds out of 199. In my opinion, you got to give the guy until about All-Star break, because that's going to give them enough time to go through some of the ups and downs of the season, go through the travel, go through the mental, just the mental load that comes. And then from there, if you think they're ready, bang, you bring them up. See what happens. But in the way that they brought up Jackson, I don't know. Walker Jenkins, base. I feel like he kind of got the raw end of the stick, He should have been handled better. We have not, Devin. We have not pulled any supers yet. Jace Young, mini diamonds. Rock Reggio. And of course, hindsight's 20/20. He comes up, struggles. Of course, it's easy to say that. So, if he comes up and he lights it up, the Orioles management team looks like geniuses. Yeah, Churrio's going to be solid long term. He's young. The biggest thing with Churrio right now that I see is he needs an approach. His approach is really bad. He has a really bad approach at the dish, in my opinion. And you'll see it if you watch enough of Churrio play, you'll see what I'm talking about with approach. When he's feeling it, he's free swinging, just like anybody else, right? Like he's free swinging. He's not thinking. He's not doing any of that. But he a lot of time puts himself at a disadvantage because he just it's like he doesn't have an approach. He just goes up and hopes that he sees one he likes, and he's staring at cockshot fastballs, swinging at sliders in the dirt. He's young. He's young. He's electric when he's on fire. But I think if he had a better approach, a better plan when he stepped in the box, his average would go up. The power numbers would go up. He'd take advantage of pitchers when they're looking to get me over fastballs over the plate. And so hopefully he has some long talks with William Contreras. And they can talk about some approaches, because I'll tell you, if you watch William Contreras play, man, that guy just the ability to do what he does at the dish consistently is honestly, in my opinion, is freaking impressive. The power numbers are solid, especially from the catching position. The average obviously speaks for itself. I think he's hitting like 340. But, he seldomly strikes out in bad positions. Yeah, he does what he needs to do to get the job done at hand. I am. That's why I'm telling you all this information. I watch enough games to see it. But I'll tell you what. I will tell you this. A guy that if you aren't afraid to lose, okay? If you aren't afraid to lose, meaning, you got to go into it knowing that, hey, if I'm going to be happy with this purchase, whether it does nothing, I lose, whatever. Bryce Terang. Because I think in about 2 to 3 months, there's going to be some discussions about Bryce Terang from a higher level than just him being a piece in the Brewers organization. And I say that because the way he plays, one, but two, he's kind of been forgotten about, and he's starting to put himself in a more frequent conversation discussion, game after game after game after game after game. Over guys like Frelick and Mitchell and Churrio at times. Obviously, Churrio is going to be that shiny diamond ring no matter what. That's like Acuna with the Braves, right? Like Acuna could be awful. He's still the shiny diamond ring that you're going to hopefully clean one day and put it back on. Brock Porter at a 250. But Terang, I think he's kind of the coal that you might find a diamond in 2 or 3 months. It's not. He's not going to make you thousands and millions, but I think you can pick up like some nice numbered autos of his for pretty cheap. Luis Baez and Jorge Marcheco. Yeah, that's why I've got all the Brewers Insider news. Come on, Jared, stay with us. Stay with us, Drew Jones, Lunar. That's why I've got all the inside scoop. Arjun Namala. Another one safe, huh? You remember Ramirez? Out of 499, Colin Houck. George Lombard Jr. Ava Malik Ortiz. Maui Ahuna on the mini diamonds. Elijah Green, Lunar. You're a powder. All right, we have 3 boxes left. Oh man, we gotta hit some type of big auto at some point. This is just. It's been a minute since we've hit like a somewhat big auto. Like, come on. All right. I think a lot of us are powders, though, Jared. Just kind of how it goes sometimes, you know? Oh, man. Walker Jenkins, Infernos. Hey, Cooper Pratt out of 125. Not too impressed with the optic. Well, it's only retail that's out right now, so I mean... I will say, though, the whole optic release thing is kind of ridiculous because... Nice Tony Ruiz, Royals, Space Ink. It's kind of ridiculous because you figure... But before Hobby even releases, they're gonna... The values of hollows and base are just going to be killed. Like... Why they would do that is just absurd. I mean, you're gonna have hollows and bases on the market for a month before hobby release. Like, what was the thought process behind that? Like, obviously, you're not ripping hobby just for the base and the hollows. I get that, but to be able to have that as a way to kind of subsidize a little bit is nice. But now, and who knows? Maybe they'll hold value. I don't know. But I can't imagine. Can't imagine if you already have Stroud PSA 10 hollows floating out there that the value of your raw hollow is going to be what it would have been if releases were normal. I can't imagine that. Yeah, but the whole thing they did with the downtowns, though, they added all the numbered downtowns. So, I mean, I don't know if the downtowns take that big of a hit, truthfully. Like, because they always are floating out there, even when you have a normal release. It kind of comes down to the numbered downtowns. Yanquiel Fernandez, Lunar. But obviously having that as an opportunity, it's there. But... the SSPs and some of the downtowns and stuff. I look at those like those are going to be out there no matter what, right? Like on any release. Evan Carter, they're SSPs for a reason. They're shorter printed for a reason. So the amount of hit that those would have probably pretty small. But I mean the amount of hit that you're going to have on a hollow or a base. I mean you got to think any release when you look a month later. That's basically the amount of hit that you're going to have on those. Like, just absurd. Alberto Rios Mini Diamonds. All right. Brian Acuna Lunar. It's gonna be me. All right, 2 more boxes left. Ah. 1 second. All right, box number 11. Big auto coming, Jared says. All right, Jared. All right, Jared. If you're wrong, you gotta pay for everybody's spot in the break. I bet that's only fair. So that's what I heard. Big auto coming, otherwise I will cover the cost of everyone's spot. Dude, how did you just realize that you have the Rangers? You have the Blue Jays, the Rangers, and the Phillies, looks like. All right. Here we go. Kyle Teal, Jace Young, Infernos, Celas. And orange. Oh. Dylan had a non-first and not an auto. Come on. But nice one there. Orange Shimmer at 25. Padres. The Pods. Ooh, you owe everybody. You owe everybody. Max Wagner base. All right. Everybody send Jared your PayPals. I'm kidding. Please do not send Jared your PayPals. I can just see it now. I'm going to get PMs. Like, yeah, so when's that guy sending me my refund? Ryan Clifford, Lunar. Dominguez. Sorry, send all of your PayPals to Faf. He said he'll refund you. At a $4.99 Lazaro Montes. Man, I will tell you though, we had some nice hits in our 5-caser. And other than that, it's been kind of like, it's been sporadic, you know? Like, we'll get a good hit, we'll get a kind of bigger name auto here, bigger name auto there, but it's like, come on. Give me some consistent nasty. No, we have one more box. Are you going to say the big autos in there? I skunk you for a living? I mean, I guess technically I do. Right? Like, this is my job, this is my living, and if I skunk you doing it, then I guess technically, yes, you're right. James Wood, Mini Diamonds. So, actually, yeah. Yeah, Faf, I do. You don't just tell facts, you tell Fafs. Dude, you could start, I feel like that would be a catchy segment. Fafs Facts. I could be a guest star. Or a guest, I wouldn't call myself a star. Dude, I'll be honest with you, man. I feel like I've pulled maybe like 2 Brewer autos all day. Like Cruz is hiding too. I think we had one base Cruz auto. We've pulled a few Jenkins, nothing too low. It's been a. I feel like I truthfully I think we've had better luck. Like in the HTA, we had better luck with some of the rookie autos. Like in the 5-case player, the NL Central absolutely raked. Like, I mean, you had Ellie insert auto. You know. Yeah, but they had Encarnacion Strand rookie ink, Nick Gonzalez True Blue rookie ink. There was a True Orange of somebody. The NL Central, like solid name too, and I cannot think off the top of my head who the heck it was. Like I am drawing an absolute blank. I can't even tell you what team it was. Brock Wilken, Mason Wynn, Infernos, Yulene Cespedes, Miles Naylor, Yolandi, Emmanuel Tejada out of 150. Pete Armstrong, Gladiators of the Diamond. And Brock Porter out of 150. Jackson Merrill. Out of 399, Ronald Acuna Jr. Out of 399, Max Scherzer. Carson Wisenhunt. Dylan Cruz. Tamar Johnson. Okay, we're going to have to go back through. As I did miss one earlier, so I'll go back through. If we get skunked here, okay. Wait, put them up here. Let me just check. Oh, come on. No way, no way, no way. I feel like I'm not even looking at the red box of paper anymore. I've already gone through it all. Alright, let's go through the stack that's sitting next to me. Come on, no way. Well, I think we got topsed on that one. So I don't think it's sitting in these. Let me go through the last batch that's right here. Just see, maybe, just maybe. I'll do my due diligence to make sure we didn't miss it, but. Ah, freaking stinks, man. Absolutely, Jared. All right. Well, let's go through recap. Come on, man. All right, we had Gladiators of the Diamond, Pete Armstrong, and Yoandi Morales Lunar. Mini Diamonds, James Wood, Alberto Rios, Maui Ahuna, Jace Young, Spencer Jones, Camilo Diaz, Travis Honeyman, Cole Young, Brooks Lee, Jet Williams, Michael Arroyo. Out of 150, Emmanuel Tejada and Brock Porter. Out of 25, Dylan Head. Out of 125, Cooper Pratt. Out of 250, Brock Porter. Out of 199, Encarnacion Strand. Anthony Cueza. Out of 299. Out of 75, Abimelec Ortiz. Out of 75, Rock Reggio. Out of 150, Homer Bush. Out of 150, Paper, Walker Jenkins. Out of 150, Pete Armstrong. Out of 399, Isaiah Drake. Out of 125, Sebastian Walcott. And out of 25, Chase Davis. Out of 99, Ty Pete. And out of 150, Termar Johnson. All right, base ink. We got Max Wagner, Tony Ruiz, Jorge Marcheco, and Chandler Pollard. Going out to the Yankees, out of 25, Rookie of the Year favorites, Everson Pereira, going to Tony Burrell. Going out to the Braves, Isaiah Drake out of 250 on the auto, going out to Jeremy Olenek. Going out to the Rockies, Greg Philippi, nice Robert Kalaz out of 299. Going out to the Pirates, Casey Dumars, Estuar Suero out of 499 refractor auto. Going out to the Astros, William Pavey, little Gray Kessinger base rookie auto. And going out to the Blue Jays, Jared Taylor, nice David Guzman on the base ink. Going out to the Rangers, numbered out of 100, Wyatt Langford, second year auto. Going out to the Rangers and Jared Taylor. And last but not least for the Twins, and Jerry Pardue, numbered out of 99, Walker Jenkins on the top 100, Bowman insert auto. All right, guys. As always, appreciate everybody hanging out, tuning in. Kind of crappy, really crappy that we got topsed on the last auto. But you all have a great rest of your night. As always, thanks for hanging out here at Best Card Breaks, making release days like this enjoyable. We couldn't do it without you guys. So, as always, thanks for hanging out with us, And we may see you back here later, may not. Just depends on if we get that next break full.